been sitting down all day. I just go from one chair to the
another.
next chair.
That is how it is when you work from home, and then you come record and you're still sitting.
Right. Driving, I'm sitting. This is why people in the South just be like not moving. We be so sedentary. Like in New York, at least I would have like walked over. I don't know. It just feels like
it's not a mobile city for real.
It's not. Yeah, just
or a mobile part of the country.
So much sitting.
There's a lot of sitting.
Speaking
of, you're probably sitting right now. Oh. Welcome to She Well Read.
Hello there. You caught us.
Yes, the Bite Size Book Club podcast. I am Alana.
I'm Samra.
And do you do a lot of sitting? Like we do? Like a lot of sitting. I have to intentionally say I need to get up. And that's what my Apple Watch does actually every hour.
That actually is helpful for those of us. Because I mean, my body's telling me. My back said get up and walk. Walk around, get your steps in.
My back said go see a chiropractor.
I'm working on that one too.
I'm kind of scared though because they say like once you do it, like you have to keep. Yeah.
They said that about massages too, but like I mean,
that's tea.
You just figure it out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I stopped getting those.
That sounds expensive.
It is expensive.
I need to see if chiropractors are on my insurance.
Period.
Shout out corner. Follow us everywhere at She Well Read. You can check us out on Patreon as well, where we are going to have a lot more content. So if one episode a week is not enough for you, head on over to the Patreon. Want to talk to us in real life? Head on to the Patreon. Want to just hear us fuck around? Head on to the Patreon.
I like this game.
I couldn't think of a third. I really just made that last one up because I was like, it's gotta be 3. But we do be fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, support the season's partners. We got all the discount codes. Check it out in the bios and description. Coffee break. Coffee break. I had a little two-part. I know it says one thing up there, but I'm gonna be really quick because I just have to address the shirt.
Oh, please.
And the America has a problem.
America
remix
has a problem.
Even the beginning when he's like, yeah, like I was like losing my shit as I was listening to it. It's the detail, like the fact that it wasn't like we had to wait for his verse to like eventually come on in the remix. It kind of reminds me of Doja Cat and SZA, the Kill Bill remix.
That one was good.
It was good. And this one,
go stink, fuck it up, go stink, fuck it up,
go stink, fuck it up.
Right, because I was like, oh, this is a minute in and he's still going.
yeah, a true remix.
Yeah, we love to see it. And Beyonce, because I'm thinking about, Meg and hers remix. That was not just a remix. Like
that's a new song.
The thing about Beyonce is she's gonna change some shit up. She's not just gonna slap somebody's verse in there. They've got to like match her, and she's gonna up her thing. She probably was like, damn, this is an amazing fucking verse.
Right.
She's like, let me go do something real quick.
Because she messed around with the beats and the like, even down to the outro. If you like really listen to it, which I feel like we both have 1,000,000 times since it came out.
Too many times.
Like, it's definitely gonna be on my Spotify countdown playlist thingy or whatever at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just made me even more pumped for the concert in July. Like, I am absolutely stoked.
Me too.
That was that. And then, okay, second thing I want to talk about.
What's going on? I don't know.
She said, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, I do.
You looked at it again and you're like, oh, okay, I can put 2 and 2.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Because, so as some of you may know, I was scheduled to speak at the She Podcast Live conference that was happening in Washington, D.C. in June.
Right.
And unfortunately, the in-person aspect of the conference was canceled recently. And it's just really upsetting because, like, you do hate to see it. And She Podcast, for those of you who don't know, they are a women and non-binary podcasting collective, just trying to give marginalized people, women specifically, a voice in this very male-dominated field.
They're doing a great job.
They are. They have a free Facebook group. They have membership. They have all of like a plethora of resources. And right now the industry, and it's not just She Podcast, it's a lot of big players in our industry, I think. At least, like, that's the thing. Like, to me, I look at them as big players because I'm like, oh, they're like well established. They have teams. They have like, you know, whatever. But they're still very indie based.
Like doing everything themselves.
And they don't have the financial backing that these, what we call the big five in podcasting have, like the Amazons of the world and the Apples and Spotify and stuff like that.
They kind of dominate everybody.
Yeah, and even like say Spotify, they made a pledge, which there's a whole controversy on this. They made $100 million pledge to DIE organizations, and they haven't even put a dent into spending that money.
Wow. Wait, when was the pledge? Do you know when the pledge started?
I think it was like maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah, I feel like it too. I don't know.
It's been some time, but the thing that they like fuck themselves over, like I need to find the article, but I heard that one of the execs were like, well, we pledged that amount, but not to say like we have that amount to spend right now.
Hello? Wait.
It's like they pledged a number like in good faith almost, but like not saying they have that money in the bank to do that.
That seems kind of weird because it's giving like you inflated the numbers.
Yeah. It's like, you know, this would be great. And it's like, yeah, it would be. But you don't have the money to, it just doesn't make sense.
You can't put the money where your mouth is.
Right. So anywho.
That's really sketch.
It is really sketch. And I just think that, I mean, in every industry, I just have the thing where there's so many indie creators who are doing amazing things.
So many, yes.
And all of these like big players, the part that gets me is they want you to prove yourself first. Like they want you to have the millions of followers. Like they want you to be established already so they can just come pick you up.
Which is not how this works, I don't feel.
It's like we need y'all to be able to get there.
Right. Because I don't feel like these like top trending podcasts are like the most riveting every week, but they stay at the top of the charts because people just,
they have the support.
Yeah.
And the backing.
Exactly.
And like there are some who truly like started from the bottom, now we here. But a good percentage of them are like backed by these big corporations.
I feel like if you're a celebrity too, you just
automatic. But again, that's the thing. They already have the following.
Oh, yeah.
They already have the audience. So it's easy for companies to be like, oh, here's a budget. Here's like throwing all of these things. When there's shows like ours and so many others who are worthy of those budgets, but we don't have the access.
Yeah, ultimately it is very like, they're just trying to make something that's not business a business decision. So I feel like it is easy to like, if you have the numbers to get the money, right?
Right.
But that doesn't guarantee success in my opinion, because I don't even think Meghan Markle, who like was a big thing, I don't even think she's doing her podcast anymore.
I don't think so either.
And I feel like a lot of people don't know the work that goes into podcasting, don't really have a plan except, oh, everybody's doing it. Like Jeanette with her music career.
That's a great example.
You're like, they said this is the formula, and so that she did it, but like there was no like heart and soul in there.
Right.
And that's something that keeps the podcast going.
Yeah, that's what keeps current audience listeners coming back and brings in new ones.
I feel like as long as you're consistently growing, that should be enough for a business, in my opinion, to back you or like feel like you're good enough. Because what really is a like what, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it reminds me, because I was a big Shark Tank watcher, and even there are Shark Tank companies like Ring was on Shark Tank, but none of the sharks took the deal.
There are companies like that. You're right.
Where it's like they had an amazing thing, but the sharks were like, but you're not there just yet where we want you to be or where we think you should be. Where it's like, okay, but if you really believe in this,
it's about that
and
part.
You back them, then they could get there so much faster or so much easier without like the struggles that come with it, trying to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And like all of those sharks now look back and they're like, that's the deal that got away.
Damn.
But it happens so much. Right. There's probably so many more.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's really about like, it's almost like you have to bet on somebody taking, and almost take a bet on somebody taking a chance on you.
Truly. Yeah. And I do think that that's why that minority like situation is so important, because people don't take as many chances on people that look
like us.
Yeah, basically. So, it's a very tough.
It's really sad
one to crack.
Yeah, and so, but like I said, She Podcast is still going to be happening virtually. They actually have a great deal set up. Like Chris Krimitsos, he's the founder of Podfest that happens every year in Orlando, one of the big podcasting conferences, and him and Jess are good friends, and so he offered Jess like, hey, everybody who bought a basic level ticket to She Podcast Live can come to Podfest for free.
Wow.
And I'll give you extra, like some of my meeting space so that y'all can have like a mini conference a couple days before Podfest.
Wow.
And then they still get to come to Podfest for free.
Wow. That's a friend.
Right. And that's an ally.
Oh, you gotta speak, because you're right. There's a difference between,
It's like putting your money where your mouth is.
Truly,
like
so
in
we should
action.
all support him. That's amazing. Podfest. Go look it up, guys, if you're a podcaster. I've never been.
Right, we've never been, because we've always just like been to She Podcast is our thing. Like that's the conference we go to. Like that's where we've met so many of our pod friends. And I don't know, it's really sad, especially because I work with Jess behind the scenes, and like watching all of this play out and seeing how hard her and her team work to like really try to make this happen and pull all the strings, and like in the end, like it just couldn't happen.
It is a tough time right now.
And it's a tough time for all industries, but I feel like it's low-key starting to become an excuse.
Oh, that's a good point.
Where it's like, y'all have this money, though. Whether you, like, you need to look at your budgets again and see where things are going.
Let's reallocate.
Yeah, reallocate funds.
Yeah, that's kind of like the U.S. right now with the whole,
I
guess, debt
ceiling. How we're about to default.
Can we, like, reallocate some funds, like, less over here, more over here,
right?
But we don't get to say, and that's kind of silly and dumb, and especially if like it's a company that's public with shareholders. Like the shareholders should be able to say, like, as even just like we're shareholders of the United States, like we should be able to say where this money is going. But we're just like kind of at the whim. Yes,
but it's like you said, like. It's still so hard to get people to understand the importance of podcasting, or even let's start with, what is a podcast? Who is a podcaster? What does that look like? And that's why I said it's so many things, but it's like, I don't know. In the grand scheme of things, but the thing is, She Podcast was supposed to happen like last year.
Oh.
And like they had to get pushed because not enough ticket sales and not enough sponsors. Like this isn't just like a secular thing. Like this has been like a couple years it's been an issue.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So they've had a chance.
Yeah, someone definitely needs to support, especially people like She Podcast who have the track record. Of,
or even like Afros and Audio.
Oh, yeah.
Or
there's a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's so many.
True.
Good, like, and they're like the industry, like the true, like, in their industry people that should be supported.
Right. They care about people.
They care about podcasters.
Selfless.
Yeah.
To like just dedicate your life, your brand to helping others. Like that's like basically a nonprofit. Like we need to be like supporting them, and not only us individually, but like the greater industry as a whole.
If you are a podcast listener, like you can do things too.
That's true.
You can support as well. You don't have to be a podcaster to support the podcasting industry or your favorite indie podcasters.
Very, very true.
So yeah, go give some love to your favorite indie show today, indie creator, indie anything, because it is not an easy job at all. And we do it out of love, and we do it because we love what we're doing, and we love y'all, and we just, there's just a lot of love in there too.
And that's why it's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's like when food's cooked with love, it tastes better.
It tastes better. Exactly.
You don't want a corporate podcast.
Yeah. Unless it's good.
That's basically the news.
Tea.
Let's be honest.
Which, if you're looking for a good news podcast, The Newsworthy by Erica Mandy, 20 out of 10. It's basically bite-sized like ours.
Yeah.
It's like 10 minutes of like unbiased news every day.
Bite-sized news.
Bite-sized news.
Oh, we got to do an interview with her soon.
We do.
I mean, we have, haven't we?
No.
Oh. Okay, we got to do one soon.
We got to do it. But yes, all that to say, She Podcast Live, they are going to have different ticketing options. There is going to be a virtual option. By the time this episode comes out, I think all that information will be out and available. So I will link that in the description. But let's get into it. Let's get into the chapter. Because I've been talking too much already.
You're passionate.
Oh, gosh.
Wow. All righty.
But pivot.
Let's do 61.
I was about to say, we're starting at 60 or 61? 61.
All right, guys. So apparently Jeanette only signed on to Sam and Cat because, well, first of all, her mom, as we know, was a huge proponent in that, but she is no longer with Jeanette physically. So at this point, the only reason she did this show is because they promised Jeanette that she could produce one of the episodes. Mm-hmm. I mean, she wouldn't be the only producer, but she would be like, her name would be credited as an executive producer on the show. So she is someone who we know loves writing and loves like creating a story. That is what makes her like tingle.
Yeah, the Parent Trap dupe.
Yeah, which we're still waiting on, Jeanette. But yeah, so she doesn't love acting, and the show itself is not the most like thoughtful, exciting to her type of show. Mm-hmm. And so she really has been like just basically counting down the days till she can produce an episode. Tell me why it is kind of wrapping up the show as a whole. They're on their last final episodes. And so she's like, this is the day that I am going to be on the script. Sorry, guys. Script.
I was trying to think of it with you, and I was like, fuck, I can't help her with this because I can't think of it either.
Okay, so she's been excited about this directing day, and they've been pushing her dates back several times now. And so this is like the final time that they can push it back before, the show's going to end. Mm-hmm. So she's like, this is the day. I'm all excited. And they drop the script off in front of her, and she doesn't see where her name should be. So this is setting off alarms in her head. She's like, wait a minute. Hello? N-A? She's saying 2 letters. They're not her name. They are N-A. So she's like, it must be a typo, right? That's what she's telling herself. She starts like breathing really weird and very rapidly. And to me, it feels very much like the beginning of a panic attack.
Mm-hmm. That's what I picked up too.
And she is looking around like, I need somebody who knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. And nobody knows at this point. It's like makeup artists, other people who wouldn't know this type of thing. So the executive producers start filing in, and the one that she trusts, she makes eye contact with, like, hello? And he's mouths back and is like, we'll talk about it later.
Which, like, anytime somebody's like, good. We got to talk about it later, 99% of the time it's not good news.
It's not a good news. Yep, because otherwise it would be just, let's talk about it now. Let's celebrate your, cheers to your executive producer spot. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I don't want to talk about this later. They cannot expect me to be professional right now. This is what I'm here for, and everybody knows how much I wanted this. She's fighting back tears, and she realizes how foolish she has been because she's like, basically what we just said, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
She feels very betrayed, and she's been so sick of being a good sport, but she's like, I know that this is what they're going to tell me, and they do. Her agents and her managers are like, you just need to be a good sport at this point and, finish this shit out. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit forward now. We are on shooting day. So she is in makeup and hair, and it's actually been taking quite some time because Jeanette's been very upset. She's been crying. She feels deceived and hurt and angry. And every time she tries to bring this up with a producer, she's kind of rejected. She's like not being able to speak with anybody. Everyone's being very tight-lipped. It's all kind of like them against her, she feels like, which makes her feel even more upset. So she's putting on her costume and she's very sluggishly heading down to set. And this particular scene is one where Jeanette is doing a lot of, like, what would you call this? I'm like brain dead. Like a stunt.
Okay. I couldn't tell where you, but yeah. A stunt.
Yeah, it's like one of those more physically heavy scenes, and she's going to be in a boxing ring with a 10-year-old, which just goes to show you, like, what? The boxer.
Well, no. So it's with one of her castmates who's a boxer, and they're managed by a 10-year-old.
Oh, her.
Which, like, even
more
wilder. But that, like, if you watched or even know about the show, it like makes sense. Everything stupid.
Everything I'm hearing about the show makes no sense, and that's kind of the vibes. It's like it doesn't make sense. Like, there's a 10-year-old managing this boxing ring. So yes, her castmate's the boxer, and she, like, at this point really doesn't know her lines. She's just like phoning it in. She's not happy at all. And so she kind of like looks through her script because she's like, okay, let me figure out like what the vibes are so I can like do this take. And they do several takes. The first one she gets through, but barely. Second take, she barely gets through as well. And then the third take, it all falls apart. She doesn't get through it at all. In the middle of trying to do this, like, whatever it is, jumping up on somebody, and like, it's kind of intense. And like, you guys know her diet is not the best right now. There's probably nothing in her system.
That's a good point.
And so she truly has that panic attack that was coming on the other day. The issue was never resolved. She didn't like take that time to like therapize herself or talk to somebody about this and let out her emotions. So it's just been kind of sitting there. And so this moment, she can't breathe, basically, is what's going on. And she faints, starts like seeing stars. She passes out and she's drooling on the floor, letting out these emotional wails as everyone just kind of sits there because she is the scene. And also, you can't even film this because it's crazy. It's what's going on right now. One of her co-stars who plays the boxer finally picks her up and carries her off set and into her dressing room where they can talk. They comfort her, and her makeup artist, who is her friend, also helps calm her down. Patty, we love her. And of course, a producer comes right behind them and is like, what's going on? I need to speak to Jeanette. You know, like, this is, of course, unprofessional to them. And Patty is the best. And she's like, not now. She like uses the tone where it's like, stop, you know. And, you know, Jeanette really, really appreciates this because not a lot of people have the balls to stand up to the producers. They kind of run the shit. And anyway, eventually, the producer does get to talk to her alone. He wanted to speak privately, and Jeanette approves that. And so her friends leave, and it's just her and the producer. So they're trying to make some kind of, you know, introductory joke to lighten the mood. They say, I like how you've decorated the place being her dressing room, which she has not decorated at all because she does not like being here. She doesn't even feel like this is her show anymore. And she, you know, was supposed to laugh, but didn't laugh, which I like, you know, hold your ground. And they clear their throats and they said, I'm assuming that this is about you being removed from the director's slate. And Jeanette says, it's about a lot of things. And it's kind of silent for a moment. And he just keeps going. And he's like, I want you to know that I vouched for you. I wanted you to direct. There's someone here that doesn't want you to direct very badly. And they said basically that they would quit the show if you get this directing spot. that you wanted.
Which I'm like, who the fuck is this?
I know. It's a mystery. We don't know at this point. I hope we find out.
I do too.
But I can't imagine like who it would be besides the creator. That's the only person I can think. Because like who else has beef, you know?
Right, that hard of a beef.
And that's just that mean.
Oh shit, you're right, because they're like, if this person leaves, it would be a really big problem for the show. Oh fuck, you're probably right. It probably is the creator.
Maybe, yeah.
Damn, I just put that together.
Maybe they could have parted with somebody else. But anyway, yeah, he's the main event. Even though we'll keep going.
We'll get there.
All right, so she's just like, hello, like I don't understand, and she's very upset. And the producer, I mean, she's upset, but she's silent, guys. She doesn't even know what to think right now. And the producer gets up, leaves, and it's just her at this point. And she is like kind of trying to cope. And she is basically feeling like she wants to puke. She wants to throw up. And that's all she can do. That's the only thing that she feels like she has control over. So she just wants to binge over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And this chapter ends with the prop master, who is the person who has all the props, and they deliver her butter sock for her next scene. So we're kind of left on a bit of a cliffhanger in a way.
Yeah, we don't really know what the resolution of this was.
Yeah, just that she had to keep working.
Pretty much.
After that.
And be a good sport.
Traumatic ass situation. Like imagine like crying, sobbing in front of everybody you work with, and then having to go right back and like
put on a brave face. Like, all right, let's keep going. I'm fine now. Like when you're obviously not fine.
Like cut the show for the day.
Right.
But they can't.
Cause money. But moving on to chapter 62, she is in Whole Foods buying groceries for the week. And she's doing this because she thinks if she coughs up the big bucks for produce and frozen meals, that she'll spend an obscene amount of money that'll make her not want to binge and like basically throw it all back up later.
So she knows this is not sustainable.
Yeah, like she knows this is not a good thing, which we come to find out. Like she's seeing the physical effects of when you are bulimic. Her throat bleeds daily, her teeth feel softer, her cheeks are puffier, she has trouble digesting food, she has cavities, like it's just draining her in so many words.
Yeah.
So, since her willpower clearly hasn't worked, she's like, this Whole Foods thing is the next best thing that I can try. Ooh, that itches. Okay. Cut that out. And so she pulls out this frozen meatloaf meal, inspects the nutrition, and it has 440 calories, 15 grams of fat, and she's like, no way. She put that shit back. And another one of her brand new strategies, which we like to call eating disorders, is lowering her caloric intake. Which, I mean, there are some diets where, like, if you actually follow, like, a caloric deficit is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But in this case, that's not what's happening here.
There's levels to this.
There's levels to this shit. And she's like, I figure if I keep my calories low, maybe the urge to throw up will go away and she'll be able to down her food. At least that's what she's telling herself. But deep down, she says she knows the truth. And the truth is that she wishes she had anorexia and not bulimia. It's like switching one eating disorder for the other.
Yeah. She thinks anorexia is like the better
of the two
at this point. She's like, I did this bulimia thing and it's not
what I thought it was.
It's not giving.
Yeah, she's like, I've grown humiliated by bulimia, which she used to think was the best of both worlds because you get to eat what you want, throw it all back up, win-win situation.
I remember when she was like thinking she failed because she couldn't puke. Now she's like, it's the last thing I want to do.
Right, which we've done a whole 180 on that. And she's filled with so much shame and anxiety after she does it. And she feels depleted, exhausted, like there's nothing else. And the other half of her like has a splitting headache. Like it's just so many bad things where she's like, bulimia is not the answer. Anorexia is. She's like, anorexia is regal, in control, all powerful. Bulimia is out of control, chaotic, and pathetic. Poor man's anorexia. And I was like, okay, Deborah.
Ooh, Lord Jesus. She's living through through this eating disorder.
Right. Which was introduced by Deborah.
Very much The legacy of Deborah.
Yep. And so she says she has friends with anorexia and she can tell that they pity her. She says she knows because anyone with an eating disorder can tell when anyone else has an eating disorder. It's like a secret code you can't help but pick up on. And I was like, fuck.
Not the eating disorder community. ED community, I guess.
Yeah, which, that's a whole other thing. So now that's why she's in Whole Foods. But she's pushing the cart around and there's this like tiny lady in front of her, but her phone starts ringing and it's her grandma, which we learn a lot about grandma in this chapter.
We do. You're very
it's
right.
like Deborah Senior.
Very true.
Very much giving Deborah Senior. And she says she never really much liked her grandma because as a toddler she hated the way she stroked her back and ran her hands through her hair, and she didn't know how to touch from she's saying her grandma didn't know how to touch from a nurturing, comforting place. She only knew how to do it from a seductive place, and it disgusted her, and it's disgusting me. And she says when she was growing up, her grandma's favorite hobbies were gossiping on the phone, which we got to see in earlier chapters, and getting perms and complaining.
We saw the complaining.
She said her feet hurt, her shirt's too tight, her perm's not the right color, Louise never called me back. Like, it's just so many different things where it's like, girl, please. And she says it's not that she's a bitter old woman dryly airing her grievances with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, which would be funny at least. She's always teary-eyed, always wailing, always making her problem everybody else's. And I'm like, Deborah, and Deborah.
Truly.
And she says, for all of these reasons, I don't like or respect her. Which is so interesting.
Because she didn't see it with her mom.
But I guess it's just because they had a different type of bond.
Yep, that'll do it. Love is blind. Because this is giving exactly what her mom is giving.
Right. And so since her mom has died, which her grandma is Deborah's mom. And she's tried to work on their relationship more. She tries to text back when she can, call, and like try to maintain more of a relationship with her. She's like, I'm just going to try.
That's fair enough, you know.
But she's emotionally spent. She's pretty much given up on this relationship, but she doesn't want to be a dick and cut off her daughterless grandmother.
Yeah, that's very hard to lose a daughter. Like, I cannot
your own
comprehend.
Child. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to stay focused in Whole Foods, though, so she's not answering her grandma's calls. So she texts her, like, I'll call you back in a minute, and she's still calling her. And she's just annoyed. And she finally picks up the phone and she's like, Grandma, can I call you when I'm home? I'm getting groceries. She's wailing. She says something, but it's indiscernible through the wails. And she's concerned. She asks if everything's all right. Because every time this happens, she's like, is she calling because something happened to grandma? I mean, not grandma, grandpa, or like.
Right, because they're old. Like,
right.
If you're crying, like what, you think it's something like.
You think it's bad.
Yeah.
And her grandma wails, you never call me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so she sternly tells her she'll call her back when she gets home. Then she hangs up the phone. It starts ringing again. And she just keeps calling again and again and again. And finally she's just like, fuck it. I can't do this. She leaves the grocery basket, leaves Whole Foods, and answers the phone in the car. And she's like, Grandma, I was getting groceries. We're on the phone now. Why'd you call? Like, what the fuck is up?
Yeah, like, you're so dramatic I had to leave Whole Foods.
Right.
Come on now. It better be something good.
Right. But then she says her grandma's tears turn to venom immediately. She says, no need to get nasty with me, bitch. And I was like, God,
I was like,
damn.
It also gave me more of an idea of to like why Deborah is who she is. Because I was like, this is something that Deborah would do.
Right. Like maybe not call her a bitch, but like she had her own tactics of doing the same thing.
She did call her a whore.
Oh, yeah. Towards the end, you're so right.
You're so right. Once Jeanette stopped being nice or like exactly how she wanted,
that
so venomous flip happened. And that, like, even Jeanette has had moments where she's like, I stopped caring and I just like
deal with it.
Broke that nigga's heart in his favorite restaurant. I did not care. He disgusted me.
Oh shit! Damn,
it's
so many
like
levels. Literal levels. There's levels to this shit. Ooh, episode title.
Period.
And she's like, Grandma, like I've said before, if you keep calling me names and guilting me every time we're on the phone, I'm gonna block you. Boundaries. And she says, don't threaten me, little girl. She says, I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you a fact. I said, period, bitch.
I like how she can talk to her grandma this way, at least.
Yeah.
She may not have been able to talk to Deborah like this, but...
Yeah, Grandma, but all bets are off. And she says, all my other grandkids call me way more than you do. And Jeanette... Yeah. And then Jeanette, in a moment, she's like, you know what? How are you?
Aw.
But then her grandma says, how do you think I am? Did you hear anything I've just said? You don't treat me well. Your mother must be rolling in her grave. What?
No, just like,
oh. Yeah.
Well, also, but though, like, I valid that she said, how do you think I am, huh? Because she's obviously not okay. Like, Jeanette's, like, trying to be like, how are you?
But she's trying to, like,
in the midst of...
Yeah, right.
Her, like, fucking screaming match.
Right.
I would have maybe said the same thing. How do you think I am? Context. Read the room.
Not read the room. Read the room is another good one. A good episode title. We'll figure it out. You'll see. And she's like, I wish I could just roll my eyes and just write her off as an old batshit woman, but she can't. The mom stuff really like hits a spot when she says stuff like that.
What? How do you use your own daughter's death against your own granddaughter?
From said daughter who died.
I know. It's like everything Jeanette wanted to do. Like, I'm like, that's so kind of you to like want to keep this relationship up. But like, she obviously like,
yeah.
I know you might not be over your daughter's death, but to use it in that type of way makes me feel no sympathy.
None. And she says, okay, Grandma, I'm hanging up and I'm going to block you. And her grandma says, don't you dare. Your mother will weep tears up in heaven. Click. She says bye and hangs up the phone. Her grandma then calls repeatedly. Jeanette pulls up her contacts and blocks her.
A period, bitch.
And that's on not dealing with narcissistic ass family members.
You're cut off. Because, like, who are you going to yell to now, babes?
Right. This guy?
Probably.
And so...
But the fact, I'm sorry, but the way she twists the knife in deeper, that's Deborah. That's what Deborah does.
Yeah, that's so true. And it used to work when Deborah did it.
That's true.
Wow.
And
so she gets home. She walks up the front steps slowly because there's rain. And she gets inside and there's no Whole Foods. And so she's like, the plan will have to wait. I'll deal with this another day.
Yeah, life just be lifing.
Right. And she orders what I think is a delicious Postmates meal. She gets bacon, Brussels sprouts, French fries, and beef skewers.
You better stop.
I said, damn, that sounds like it buzz.
I know, yeah, that's solid. Yeah. Way better than what you were trying to get at Whole Foods. Low calories.
Yeah, shit, yeah. And she also says she pours herself a filled to the brim a glass of tequila to go with it.
What? I've never heard of that. A glass of tequila? A shot, maybe. A glass?
Yeah.
Jeanette, what's going on? Where's the AA
You know what's going on. You know what's going on.
It's been a while. Yeah, her tolerance has just gotten higher and higher.
Yeah. And so she chugs down the tequila before the Postmates even arrives. But by the time she does, she's famished. And so she eats it all as quickly as possible and throws it all up. She ends it with, fuck it. This works for me. Believe me, it helps me. My grandma is blocked and my body is empty, and those are the things that I need.
Yeah, I mean, she's like in a place at this point where her, I feel like, brain is altered. It's an addiction. Like,
and there's so many of them at one time.
Better, even though it makes makes her feel worse. All of this stuff is making her feel worse. But in the moment, she's like, at least I have this. Which is not a good place to be. But here we are. On to chapter 63. At 63. All right, I keep getting that at work chapters.
Yeah, you do.
All right, guys. So she's been going through the motions for weeks. She glances at her lines. In the morning, she doesn't make an effort to memorize them. And she tunes out for press, which happens after rehearsal. And then she's basically just counting down the days till the show is over. 20 more days left after today. Just 4 more episodes. And even still, she's not sure if she can push through at this point.
Mm-hmm.
She is starting to expect that she'll have a bulimia-induced heart attack, which I did not know that was a thing. But she said her thoughts have gotten really dark, and at this point, she wouldn't mind. She's almost like, at least I wouldn't be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She says the disappointments in her life are piling up. With each added disappointment, her misery just grows. Her mom's death alone would have taken everything out of her, but since then, the pile has just grown and grown. She says she can't get a hold on her bulimia, and it's taken over her at this point, and she has stopped fighting. She has given completely in, which reminded me of like depression, because I've struggled with that, and it does feel like at a certain point you just give yourself up. It reminds me of Big Mouth randomly, which I don't know if you I don't think you've watched
I've watched bits and pieces. Yeah,
there's like a depression
person
thing, whatever it is, and they do a visual that's so good of like it's depression cat, and so it cuddles you and it tells you this is the best thing for you, to just sleep all day and be depressed and da 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 da. And I can see how maybe like for different addictions or whatever, different, I don't know, things that we deal with that are negative engulfs you, and you just start like, okay, this is my reality, and you almost can't see the other side. Mm-hmm. She said she has finally come to terms with the fact that she doesn't like acting, because we've known, but she's like finally there. She's like, I don't like this. And she's like, I don't want to be an actor, but it feels like that's all I can be at this point, because I don't have any other like useful skills for a career at this point. Like, she's like, I didn't graduate college. I've spent my whole life as a child actor and don't really have any like real life skills. So she's like, I'm years away from being in a place where I could just switch careers. And at this point, she's like just kind of going through the list of like what gets her through the day, and the next one's men, and men aren't doing it for her either. They all just feel like distractions. She says she would rather just distract herself with alcohol. And so anything that's on hand is great. She'll drink vodka, whiskey, wine, and honestly, it don't matter. And her body's even started to reject, like specifically vodka, but she's still drinking it because she's like, once I'm drunk, like
who gives a fuck?
Right. It's still working, but her body is like crying out for help, guys. She is hopeless, and she feels like she's walking differently, like she's just slumped, like she's just she's in the lowest point, I would say, that we've seen her in so far. Yeah. And there have been some low points. We're moving into now where the creator has gotten in trouble from the network after accusations of emotional abuse. Which seems like the least of the things that have happened, but that's what they're calling him on. So Jeanette's like, I appreciate the amount of trouble he's in. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It's like a whole thing. Like, he can't even be in the same room as the people that work with him.
Right. And she describes it like he's in this cave-like thing that's like on the set but not on the set, to where he has to like
y'all can't just fire him.
Right. That's what I was thinking this whole time. I was like, this seems like a lot for a show that's not even doing well. It's about to go off the air anyway.
Right.
Like, but I think the creator had so many holds on so many different things at Nickelodeon at the time.
Totally agree. He probably had some dirt on people. He's probably getting a nice severance package at the end. They're going to give him a graceful wave. Even saying it was just emotional abuse is like
undercutting it by a lot,
because they could go deeper, which eventually I feel like we as a public have exposed him, and it's kind of more known. But yeah, at this point he still has his job somehow, right? And so rehearsals are taking so much longer now, because he has to give his notes on the scenes to someone who runs back to the actual set, tells them what to do, and then, it's like a back and forth. The vibe on set is very let's just get it over with. And so at this point, Jeanette is doing a jump on the table and tackling someone. And honestly, I think I was a little bit confused because I was like, oh, it's such a stunt on the last chapter where she was at work. But I think this is really what I was talking about, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was...
They're both stunts.
Yeah, it was like she was fighting someone in the last one, and then this is a stunt. But it's like, if you remember her character as Sam Puckett, like she was always fighting somebody, physical. Jumping on somebody, like very physical work, which is not good for her bulimia right now because she's already drained from that, and then having to put so much assertion into this, like it's just bad.
That's why she's saying, I guess, that she doesn't know if she's going to make it through the next 4 episodes. Got it. That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So she's like doing the stunt once, twice, and she's like, I'm exhausted. All I want to do is go home and drink. And so just past 1 a.m, they do finally wrap. She gets home. She pours herself a glass of whiskey today, and she wipes her makeup off, gets in the shower, or she's about to get in the shower when she looks in her email. And she spots this very ominous email subject line, which I was like, damn, that's so upsetting. But her management company is like, we need to talk first thing in the morning. She clicks out of the email. She tops off her glass, and she takes a shower and falls asleep. Tries to fall asleep, should I say. Yeah.
Okay, so 64, it's the next morning. She's on the phone with all of her agents, all of her managers, and all of her attorneys, all the people. And she's like, I don't even remember when my team got this big. But so apparently that's what happens when you get successful in show business. And she's like, wait, they're canceling the show? And she's like excited, but has to like hide her excitement.
Oh my God.
And one of the agents goes, yep, we knew you'd be excited. And then another one says, best part is they're offering you $300,000.
For what?
Right. And that's what she's acting. She's pausing and like, why? She asked him why.
Free money?
Right. Like that on that.
From Nickel and Dime Melodian?
Not from Nickel and Dime Melodian.
It's sounding
fishy. And so another manager chimes in and it's like, well, think of it as a thank you gift. And basically the thing is she's getting this money, but she can never talk publicly about her experience at Nickelodeon if she accepts this money. So she's like, so this is hush money. And they're like, don't think of it like that. Like, let's just take the money and run.
Think of it as a thank you gift. Hello?
And she's like, no. Period. And they're like, no? Like they all go silent and they're like, wait, what? And she's like, hell no. And they're like you said, it's free money. And she's like, no, it's not. This money isn't free. This feels to me like hush money.
Speak, Jeanette.
And they're like trying to, because you know their job is to be like, yes, get the money, because then they also get paid too, is what I was thinking about.
Oh, such a good point. They don't have her best interests at heart per se,
not really. Especially all these people.
Even though they're supposed to, because she's paying them.
Right. And she's just like, no, I don't want to be silenced like this. I'm not accepting this. And they're like, no, don't think of it like that. Don't think of it like that. And she's like, that is what it is, though. I'm not taking hush money. Like, she's refusing, putting her foot down. And they're like, well, okay. And then they just all start hanging up.
I know,
like, have nothing else to talk about.
I know.
Like, okay, what do you want your next pivot to be? What do you want your next move? We have these things lined up for you. Like, nothing.
It's like they've given up on her, too. They're just like, goodbye. Yeah. You don't want that? It's over. Yeah,
and she's like, what the fuck? Nickelodeon is offering her that hush money to not talk publicly about her experience, her personal experience with the creator's abuse. And then a great point she makes at the bottom of 217. This is a network with shows made for children. Shouldn't they have some sort of moral compass? Shouldn't they at least try to report to some sort of ethical standard? Speak on it.
Damn.
And she's just like, no. She's like, she's prideful of her decision.
Yeah.
And she's like, but then she's like, wait, did I just turn down $300,000?
It's like those intrusive thoughts. It's the buyer's remorse.
Yeah, where it's like, fuck, like, yeah, but
was that a good decision? I could have $300K tomorrow.
She's like,
said no.
Yeah, and she's like, I I just turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, Sam and Kat's making a decent amount of money, but not nearly enough to turn down $300,000.
She said, I'm not that wealthy.
Mm-hmm. She said, and now she's like having regrets. Maybe I should have taken it.
Well, damn.
Yikes, on to 65.
All right, so the show's over, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happened. So her manager told her it was canceled because of sexual harassment claims against one of the producers, which I'm hearing emotional abuse. I'm hearing sexual harassment. It sounds like there's a plethora of issues.
But then what got me was the press was trying to spin it as like, oh, Jeanette's mad because she's not getting paid as much as one of her other actors on the show.
That. Yes, they kind of had to blame someone, so they pinned it on Jeanette.
And she's like, whatever, fuck it, I didn't want to do this anyway.
I know, true. I would have been raising hell, but that's good for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's thinking about, like, if I told the truth, they would really know what went down. But she said if she tells people too soon, it's going to kind of, like, maybe not hit the same because she was just on the show and, you know, just all this stuff. Like, she's known as Sam, so if she shits on the show, then it's
just almost like shitting on herself.
Exactly. So it looks bad. So anyway, she's like, at this point, she's so famous. She hates being known as Sam. And when people ask her to take a picture as Sam, she's like, no. But if they do say Jeanette, she's like, okay, I genuinely appreciate that, and I'll take a picture with you.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, she's just very bitter. And, you know, I can understand that as a teen star. She says she thoroughly disliked the fame by the time she turned 16, but now at 21, she actually despises it. She said, think about it like if you were famous for something you did in middle school.
Mm-hmm. Which, like, put it in so much perspective for me.
Right. No, so true. Because we can't really comprehend, like, oh my God, blew up as a star. But, like, imagine, like, the thing you were doing at 13 years old, like that fun band that you were in with your friends, or the play you did, or whatever it is. Like, we kind of move on from middle school and we never talk about it again. But she is, like, stuck in that phase forever, and we all know her as this person. And she's like, I've far outgrown that character, but the world only knows me as Sam Puckett. She's like, I'm aware and I know how whiny this sounds. Like, millions of people dream of being famous, but she's like, at least I didn't dream of being famous. And so because of that, she feels entitled to hating it.
Yeah, because this was ultimately her mom's dream. Like, she even ends it with, I'm allowed to hate someone else's dream, even if it's my reality, which I was like, fuck. That's deep. And wrapping it up with chapter 66, y'all. We are in the back of an Uber with Colton. Colton's back. And she's wearing a little black dress and some 2 high heels. Like, you know, just going out with her friends. And it's actually her 22nd birthday, we find out. She's going to a birthday party for herself. And she also tells us that bulimia has kept the weight off of her for the first few months. But since those first few months, bulimia has betrayed her. And she says, my body seems like it's retaining whatever food it possibly can, refusing to get smaller and, in fact, getting bigger. So much to the fact that she's put on 10 pounds since those first few months. And she's tortured by those 10 pounds. She doesn't understand, like, why her body is... she feels like her body's fighting against her, in so many words.
I really think it is.
Right, but it's because it's like, we're trying not to die.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
you're killing us, literally.
Yeah.
And so she pulls up to the party, and she immediately just starts throwing back shots. People are telling her happy birthday, but she's just like, I'm trying to be wasted, which she is within an hour. And then one of her friends, Bethany, starts walking towards her, and she's carrying a cake with candles. And she's like, shit.
This is like her greatest nightmare.
Right? Not a cake with candles. Anything but a cake with candles. And Bethany's like hugging her, which Bethany, I'm like, she don't seem like that great of a friend, but okay. And she's like, you're like not a good hugger. That's what she says. She says it in her like Valley Girl voice.
That's a good way to, yeah.
And Jeanette's like, yeah, well, and Bethany's like, I brought a cake. It's vanilla, your favorite. And it has this like really cool vanilla buttercream topping that's supposed to be like amazing.
I need you to do more of that, whatever that is.
I'm so weak. And Jeanette's just like, she's like, okay, great, cool. And Bethany's like, I know, right? Want to do cake now? Let's do cake now. And so she's like, hey. And she's like shouting everybody over like,
I didn't read it like this. This is so much better.
So weak. And Jeanette's too drunk to like fully make out like even the people who were there.
Love it.
And everybody's singing.
Friends.
Right. And they're singing happy birthday. And she's like, oh, fuck, but this is it. The point where, you know, how she feels about birthday wishes and candles. Like, she's been wishing for her mom's health for so long on every birthday wish, but now her mom's not here.
Not the wishes don't work.
Yep. She says, the thing that I secretly hoped through all these years I had some control over, I know now that I don't and never did. It's like almost a depressing thing now. Like, this doesn't work. But I had so much hope in it working for so
faith.
long.
And faith is kind of what gets you through these really dark times.
Facts.
So the fact that
she's
she has no faith at this point is like so dark.
Right. She even says like it was her entire life's purpose, keeping her mom alive and happy. And she's like, it was all for nothing because she's gone now. She tried desperately to understand and know her mother and what made her sad and all of these things, which we saw her do. And without her around, she doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know what she doesn't know like how to be Jeanette.
Yeah.
And she leans forward, blows out the candles, wishless. And Bethany's like, you've got to try the cake, the buttercream frosting. And she takes a bite and she's like, ooh, it's good. And she basically heads to the bathroom to throw it all back up.
Yeah.
And that's where we end.
We are in a really tough spot for Jeanette.
Mm-hmm. Really difficult.
Oh my God, I just peeked at the next page.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't let me know.
Guess y'all will have to come back and find out what happens next.
Yeah. But until then, this has been another episode of She Well Read. I'm Alana.
And I'm Samara.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.